Hello and welcome to D&D with High School Students Season 3. Time to meet the cast. The first member of the cast that you're going to meet here is Matt O'Malley. Matt,
Yes.
welcome to Season 3.
Thank you.
Now, if you didn't catch the Feedback Friday where I was discussing Matt's background, he has been involved behind the scenes and, in fact, directed a few of the Season 2 episodes. So he's very familiar with how things work. But this is your first time playing D&D.
It is, correct.
So you had some ideas based
Yes.
on what you saw last season, and you were able to flip through one of the player's handbooks that was donated to us last season by a friend of the show who wishes to remain anonymous. I will only say that he is the mysterious Mr. M. But you want to make a Dragonborn.
Yes.
And you know you wanted to make some kind of spell user.
Yes.
Right? And we talked about wizards, we talked about sorcerers, we talked about warlocks. And I think
about
you
all
narrowed
three.
it down to maybe a sorcerer?
Sorcerer, yes.
Okay.
That's what I think I'm going with.
So, when we're making D&D characters, and we can cut to the top shot, this is your blank character sheet. And there are a lot of different kinds of character sheets. This is just one that I happen to print off. Okay? So, up here at the top, you have your character's name, which we can get to later, your class and level, which we'll get to later, your background, which we're going to get to, but your player name. So put Matt. Okay, that's something we know. Now your race, you definitely want to go Dragonborn, so
Yes.
write down Dragonborn under race.
Is that one word?
Yes, all one word, Dragonborn. Okay, so you've had a chance to kind of gaze at some of the Dragonborn things, right?
Yes.
Dragonborn have some advantages, specifically things that will help with a spellcaster like the one that you want to be, because sorcerers are charisma based. They channel their magic through their raw will
Magic power,
and
yes.
the force of their personality, right? So, and Dragonborn get a bonus to that. So, before we get into your class features and your background is going to tie into a little more about who your character is conceptually, we're going to make some rolls.
Okay.
So in my system, there are a lot of different ways that people make D&D characters, but in my game world, I go for a heroic setting. Okay. So you're going to pick 4 of those dice. And you could change this up later, but you're going to pick 4, set the other ones aside. And on this sheet, so that we could see your rolls, and everybody knows we're not cheating from the top camera, lean back a little bit, you're going to roll all 4 of D6s. You're going to take the best 3.
Right now?
We're going to roll, and there are 6 attributes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
And on your notes, right over there, you're going to write down the results of each roll.
Okay.
Now, the first 4, you're going to roll 4d6. You're going to take the best 3.
Okay.
The last 2 rolls that you make, you're going to roll 4d6. You're going to take the best 3, but I'll let you re-roll 1s.
Okay.
So it's a slight advantage.
Okay. Yes.
Now, in other areas of my game world, where there are significant restrictions on magic and on magic items, I do a full heroic roll set, which is you roll every 4d6 and you re-roll all the 1s.
Okay.
But in this one, you only get the last 2. So
Got it.
let's start off. You're going to roll right here, roll 4d6. We're going to take the best 3. Wow, nice
Ooh.
start. That's good.
Yeah,
So
decent.
13. So write down 13. Just jot that down on your notes. Okay, next one.
6 and a 3. And
What is this? A 1 or a 6? That's a 6.
Oh, no way.
6, 6,
3.
and 3. 15. And by the way, just so you know, 8 is the average. So
Okay.
you're kicking butt so far.
4, 4, 2, 10.
10. Still well above average.
6, 4, 3, 13.
13. Nice. You have very stacked rolls. All right, now for the last 2
I get
rolls,
to re-roll.
you get to re-roll 1s.
Okay.
But that doesn't help you in this case. So another 10. Okay. Now your last roll.
5.
Re-roll that 1.
Oh, yes.
So 4, 4, 5, and 5.
5. 14.
So
Or
14.
15. No, 14.
14. Excellent. Those are killer.
Okay.
Fantastic rolls. Okay, so we're not going to assign them yet.
Okay.
But let's talk about what these mean. So strength. Strength is your physical strength.
Yes.
Strength is tied to certain skills. So if you see on your proficiencies here, there's a parentheses next to each one. If you see athletics, that's strength-based. And athletics is really any kind of physical movement-based stuff. Swimming, climbing, running, all that stuff.
Yes.
With the exception of acrobatics.
Okay.
Anything involving acrobatic moves, and I'm not just talking about somersaults and rolls. I'm talking like
jumping up things, jumping off things.
Yeah,
climbing.
or like doing a tightrope walk.
Yeah.
Or like maybe you're scaling a roof and you've got like a narrow ledge. That might be acrobatics versus athletics. But really, in terms of strength affects that proficiency.
And that's it.
It also affects combat with melee weapons.
Okay, well, I don't have any melee, so it doesn't really apply to me.
Right. It might not apply, and it might not be that big of a deal. Plus, Dragonborn get a bonus of +2. So that means you could put like a low roll into strength, and you'd still have a better than average strength.
Yes.
Okay. So next one is dexterity. Dexterity affects a lot of different skills. It affects your ability to be stealthy, to sleight of hand people like pickpockets or just, magic tricks, that kind of stuff. And acrobatics. Okay? Now, if you're making a sorcerer, are you necessarily going to need to be dexterous? You might be like, I don't need that. But here's where dexterity does help a lot, and that's armor class. So a sorcerer typically isn't going to walk around in full armor. So your dexterity bonus is what raises your armor class. So that will be important from just a general survival combat thing. Constitution is your endurance. Okay. It also affects your hit points. So you want something decent in there to give you some decent hit points. Intelligence think of intelligence as your academic, your intellect, right? So any skill with like arcana, history, investigation, nature, religion, anything where you're recalling knowledge or you're having to apply logic to a situation might be intelligent based. Now, for wizards, intelligence is the most important attribute because it also affects their spells.
Yes.
Because wizards...
Is that straight up wizards? Or
that's straight up wizards.
So
wizards wield their magic through knowledge and understanding and practice of esoteric, arts and equations and rituals. So, but that's not going to be as important if you make a sorcerer. Your big one as a sorcerer is charisma. Okay. Because that also, and by the way, charisma is not a throwaway skill either. Charisma affects all of your social proficiencies, right? So if you want to intimidate somebody, if you want to persuade somebody that your course of action is the right course of action, if you want to do deception, right? Like bluff your way out of crap, all of those are charisma based. So the advantage that you'll have in having a high charisma is that not only does that impact your study of sorcery, but it gives you those social things where, and here's the thing where this is a little meta moment, but when I'm helping someone build a character, especially somebody new to the game, I try to look at who they are and what their actual interests and attributes are. You're pretty good at BSing your way in and out of stuff.
That one I really
So I think in the game...
and Carl had a high charisma character last year.
Right, Carl had a high charisma character, and he was really good at BSing his way out. So I think in the game, that's really going to help you. Okay, so it's a win-win. The last one that I skipped over is wisdom. Wisdom's valuable for certain skills, but also think of wisdom as being related to your overall, awareness. Okay,
and prediction skills, kind of.
Right, perception and it works with wisdom, but also insight, like telling if somebody's lying or what their intent is, whether or not they're not just lying like truth or lying, but also kind of like what their intent is. That's insight. So basically everything's important. You know what I mean? There's no in this game, and part of the reason why I like 5th edition is nothing's just a throwaway, right? Everything's kind of important. So, but we know that you want to have a high charisma. So let's look at your rolls. What's your highest roll?
15.
15. Okay. Now, if you put a 15 in charisma, as a Dragonborn, you get a +1. So that's going to make it 16, which is dope. That's a great roll. So we're going to go ahead and put that in there. Okay. Now, I'm going to say something else too. On this sheet, back up a little bit. If we look at the top camera, some people write the little number in this little box, and then they write the bonus up here where you could see it. Other people, like me...
reverse.
Right.
You should do it reverse.
Thanks. So you're going to write 16. And the bonus for 16 in the little circle underneath it is +3, not +1, +3. Yeah.
Why?
So there's a little scale in the player's handbook that shows you what the bonuses are. But basically, 10 and 11 is nothing. 12 to 13 is +1. 14 to 15 is +2. 16, 17 is +3.
Yeah.
So we've got that. Now put a little line through your 15 so we remember that we used it.
Okay.
Now we're down to 14, 13. Oh, you have 2 13s.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So what's your next inclination? Now remember what I was saying. Constitution and dexterity are just generally
right
useful.
away. I'm just gonna put a 10 on my strength.
Okay, cool. So write 12 in there because you're a Dragonborn. You get a +2.
So that's a plus.
And that's a +1.
Wait, no.
12 is +1.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. I've been playing this game longer than your
dad's
dad's
been
been
alive. The thing you just showed me just said, whatever 10
Matthew,
is.
12 +1.
10 to 11 plus 0.
Yeah, but it's a 12.
It's a 10.
You burned a 10, but because you're a Dragonborn, it's +2. So your final roll is 12. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
Just like this was a 15,
yes,
but it's actually
yes,
16.
Yes. Okay.
Now, that's it for your Dragonborn bonuses,
yes.
though. So what you got left on your sheet of notes is what you got left.
Okay.
Now, a 13, you have 2 13s, right?
Yes.
A 13 grants you the same bonus as a 12. You get a +1.
Okay.
So if you put a 13 here, 13 here, that means a +1 to your hit points. That means a +1 to your AC. Those are good things to have.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to go. So I write 13 or 14?
Well, hold on.
14.
So
if I put a 13 here.
This is where you have to really think because you do have a 14 and a 14 is a +2. So do you want to put the 14 in dexterity to have a higher armor class?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay, so just 14. Make that a 14 and the bonus for that is +2.
So it's a 16 that I would write up there.
No. The +2 in the little circle is just what a 14 gives you for rolls. That's the it's called a modifier.
So I put +2 down here?
+2.
Okay.
Okay, cross that 14 off on your notes. Now, what do we have left?
13, 13, 10.
Okay. So what do you think?
13, 13, 10.
10 for what?
Constitution.
Okay, so 10 in Constitution doesn't give you a bonus either way.
Yeah.
It just means that your hit points are your hit points.
Oh.
So you gotta think. Okay, that means you can't run up in combat and beat ass all the time because you'll get you'll get torn up. Now, I'm not saying that a 13 is going to make that much of a difference, but it's a +1 hit point each level versus...
Ooh, okay, so then intelligence or wisdom? Let's see.
Wisdom's good to have for a lot of different reasons. It's your perception, it's...
Yeah. Okay, I'll put a 10 in intelligence, I think, then. We'll go 13, 10, 13.
Okay, cool.
That makes sense?
So write that in. 13, 10, 13. The modifier for the 13s is +1. And the modifier for the 10 is just 0. No modifier. Okay, so a couple things that are now revealed to us is your initiative is at the beginning of a combat or beginning of any kind of thing where the whole group has to make decisions and act in a certain order. Your initiative is the bonus that you get to your D20 roll.
Okay.
So that is modified by dexterity. So you have an initiative of +2. Okay, so let's look at other things that we can easily fill in. Speed is the speed with which you move, and your race, Dragonborn, moves at 30. So your speed is 30.
How's that? Like, what is...
30 is basically like human speed.
Okay.
Right? Some smaller people, like gnomes, halflings, dwarves, move at like 25.
Okay.
So they're a little slower
What's like
because
the fastest you can be?
they have small legs. 30 is basically your fastest, but there are certain bonuses and feats and other things that can raise your speed. Okay, and we'll get to that too. All right, let's look at other Dragonborn traits and features. Okay, so we already got your ability score increases. You looked at this table, the Draconic Ancestry thing, right?
Yes.
Did one of those reach out to you? Did you decide what color?
I'm either going to be a black acid dragon or a green poison dragon.
I think... So, again, the difference between line and cone. So, line is more of an attack that's straight on.
Well, I think actually... So, this one is a dex save, so does that mean that is something you're doing?
That means when you shoot that at somebody, their dex. They have to make a dex save to like dodge out of the way.
Okay.
Now, green is interesting because it's a constitution save. So depending on who you're attacking, it's basically their constitution. Like, can they handle the poison? Can they resist the poison? Or how much impact of damage does
We're
it
going to
have?
go with an acid dragon. We're going to go with the black acid dragon.
Okay.
That sounds dope.
All right, so I want you to write down at the very top here, just in within that line, Draconic Ancestry, black. And your breath weapon, that'll be the next line down, or skip a line, whatever you want to do,
Okay.
is acid. And then underneath that, you're going to write down 5 by 30 foot line, parenthesis, dex save. Okay, so they have a DC, okay, and the DC is basically the difficulty challenge, the rating that they, in other words, they're going to make a save, right, against dex. They're going to use their dex to make a save. They have to roll over a certain number to succeed. So you need to write down on the next line, DC equals, and then we have to calculate this. So it's 8 plus your con modifier.
9.
So 9 plus your proficiency bonus. Write that in. That's actually, hold on.
Uh-oh.
I'm dumb. I should have looked this up before. It's plus 2. Proficiency bonus is
So I'm
plus
at
2.
11. DC
So,
equals 11.
yes.
Okay.
So their DC is 11. So if they roll under that, they take the full damage,
Yeah.
which is, that's what I'm going to read you. So
30? Wasn't it 30?
2d6, the damage. So write down damage 2d6 or half. So what that means is if they make their save, you're going to roll 2d6, right? And you're going to be like, okay, take 5 damage. If they make their save, they're only going to take 2. But if they fail the save, they're going to take 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so damage resistance, write this down. Damage resistance. So you have damage resistance to acid. Okay, over here where it says other proficiencies and languages, I want you to write down languages, colon. And the languages that you get are common and draconic.
Okay.
Okay. So you got your draconic ancestry. You have your breath weapon, damage resistance. Oh, we didn't do that, did
Yeah,
we?
we did.
Yeah, damage resistance.
To acid.
So what that means, by the way, damage resistance
half,
to
right?
acid is, yeah, basically if somebody attacks you with an acid-based attack, you're only going to take half the damage.
Okay.
So all of that is really cool, okay? That's all your racial stuff. Now, we've talked about your class. You
Yes.
think you wanted to go with the route of Sorcerer.
Correct.
Which is, I think, going to be really cool. Before we jump into Sorcerer and all the things associated with, you asked me, I want to make a hippie, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where things like backgrounds come into play. So a background is basically like, what did your character grow up doing? It's not like you just like every day of your life you were like sorcery, you know. In other words, you have a background and then you have your current class, your current occupation, right? So I might have been a musician who then studied martial arts and became a monk. So with the background, you get some stuff out of it. You get some traits, you get maybe sometimes it's skill proficiencies or languages and equipment. So how do we build a hippie sorcerer? So there's things like a charlatan, which is, you know, basically like a con man, criminal, entertainer, you know, so folk hero, that could be a hippie. You can have a hippie entertainer.
I'm kind of liking this con man guy.
That could work too. Okay, so
Because, I mean, I do have 16 charisma. Plus 3.
Here's another kind that could be a hippie.
Hermit.
Right? So you lived a life of seclusion, you know, and you get I mean, that could be very hippie-ish. There's another one called Outlander, which is kind of like you grew up kind of outside of cities.
Oh, I kind of like that.
And you lived outside of the cities, and you're kind of like a wanderer. And that's actually the feature is wanderer. You have an excellent memory for maps and geography, and you can always recall the general layout of terrain settlements and other features around you.
That's really cool. I like
so
that.
that's kind of like a wandering hippie, right? A sage. A sage is basically a person who is learned, right? They've like studied stuff. You could be, any number of sage backgrounds could be technically some kind of hippie. And then urchin is where basically like you're a street person.
Yeah.
Now that could be very hippie, but kind of urban and more city oriented. And they have a feature called City Secrets, where you know the secret patterns and flow to cities and find passage through the urban sprawl. When you're not in combat, you and your companions can travel between any two locations in the city twice as fast as your speed would normally allow. Kind of like all the shortcuts around the city. So where do you imagine,
I want to look at that con man one. I want to read it. I read the the things you get.
So charlatan is basically somebody who, you've always had a way with people. You know what makes them tick. You can tease out their. I mean, that would work really well with your charisma, for sure, right? Because a charlatan basically is, you get tool proficiencies with disguises and forgery. You get deception and sleight of hand.
And you can kind of combine these, right?
In what ways?
I don't know. You said you could have like a.
You could have a charlatan sorcerer. Sure.
Okay.
Their feature is false identity. So you have a second identity that you could use. That's another option. Criminal. But it depends on when you came up with this hippie concept. It kind of like that's where you have to think about because
yes, I kind of like what was that? The hermit, I think.
Hermit or
Outlander. I think it was the Outlander I liked.
Yeah, hermits.
No, I like the hermit.
Outlander would work.
No, wait.
Yeah, no, Outlander would work fine because where you guys are going to be in the game world, there are cities, but there's also a lot of open country.
One type of musical instrument.
Right, so you get athletics and survival, which are cool, valuable skills to have. You get a pick of a musical instrument.
I really like the staff. I was going to say, I really want my guy to have, a staff or a walking stick.
Yeah, you could have a staff and a walking stick and, a wooden flute and just be like, what's up, man? Or, a drum
I like
or
the
whatever.
Outlander.
Okay. So, here, pilgrim. That's totally a hippie, or a guide, or an exile or outcast.
Ooh, okay, wait. So we have a bounty hunter.
Tribal nomad, hunter-gatherer.
So I have to pick these? Do I get to pick these?
You could pick. I mean, they have rolls if you're like, I don't know, and then you just roll. But if you want, I'll let you just pick it.
Okay, I want
to And then the feature is the thing where they memorize all the maps and terrains.
I'm going to be a forester. I know that for sure.
Okay. So here's what you're going to do.
Where do I write this down?
So your background is written down up there. Mm-hmm. So Outlander. You could write down class and level. So Sorcerer.
You're going to have to tell me how to spell that.
Sorcerer.
Oh, that's how I guessed it.
And 3. So we're starting off at level 3. This is like a huge spoiler for people who don't know.
Background is...
Yeah, lean back so they could see your writing. Background is Outlander. Good. Okay, so let's now fill in some of the things that this is going to give us, and then we'll go back to Sorcerer. Okay. So first thing is athletics and survival. So if you go down here, athletics. Now, if it gives you proficiency, fill in that circle. So that's going to be a darkened circle. And then go down to survival and do the same thing. Yes. Okay, now under tool proficiencies and languages. So you get to pick an additional language. So Elvish, Dwarvish. You can pick that later if you want. So just leave a blank here and then skip down 2 lines. And write down musical instrument. You have to pick what it is, so you could think about that and fill in that as long as you do it before the first game. Okay, then you get some free equipment.
Yes.
So write down staff, right in this area is where your equipment is. So staff, hunting trap. Now this next one says a trophy from an animal you killed. So you decide. That's where you get to add your own flavor.
Yes.
Like if you're like, I want a wolf pelt that I wear over my head. Or I want the skull of a bear and I wear it like a helmet. Okay? Or like antlers from a deer. That's up to you. You decide, but you're going to write that in.
That's right.
Okay. Set of traveler's clothes.
Okay.
And then you have a pouch containing 10 gold pieces. So in this box, write down 10 GP.
CP?
Oh, wait, hold on.
Gold points. GP.
Yeah, 10. Now you also want to write down your feature, and that you're going to write down here.
Wait, I have a set of traveler's clothes and what else? Oh, and a pouch containing 10. Okay.
Yeah. So write down feature, wanderer. Now the sweet part about wanderer, too, not only do you have that map geography thing memorized, in addition you could find fresh food and water for yourself and up to 5 other people each day, provided that the land offers that. So if you guys are traveling between different things and you're out in the wilds, like, you're going to be the reliable person who can help put those things together. Okay, so backgrounds are really cool. Now there's other elements of the backgrounds that allow you to kind of help define your character.
Okay.
So you could look at these personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. They just, all these are, there's no numbers associated with these. They just help you decide kind of what your vibe is.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, let's say you look at these choices and you don't like any of them, just leave it blank. But personality, ideals, bonds, and flaws are right here.
Okay.
So I'm going to have you look at this. I'm going to put the book here. You look at it and write down whichever one you like in here. And you could kind of shorthand it, okay? But we're going to keep rolling. I'm going to step away for a minute. You work on that.
Want me to, like, commentate it?
Yeah,
Okay.
like read it out loud. If
Okay.
if you like something and you think you like it, say what you like and then write it in.
All right. I'm too lazy to read them all out loud, so when they,
just skim it and pick
when they
one
catch
that
my
you
interest,
like.
I'll read them out loud. Okay.
Okay, back from a little break. Matthew, you picked out your personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. So that helps guide who your character is and what he does. Okay, and you got a couple of your proficiencies from the Outlander
Yes,
background.
yes.
So now we're going to hit the nitty gritty.
Okay, let's go.
We don't know if it's going to take, if I can squeeze this all into one session before the bell rings. So, Sorcerer.
Yes.
We've talked a little bit about what they do. We're going to look at your class features. So, their hit dice is 1d6. That means that they don't get a lot of hit points. Don't write anything down yet.
Okay.
At first level, everybody gets the maximum hit points plus your Constitution modifier. Your modifier is 1. So that would mean you get 7 for first level. Write that down on your notes. But you are level 3.
Wait, 7 first level what?
Hit points. Now, that would mean that at level 2, you would roll 1d6 and then add +1.
4. So
No, don't write it down. And then at level 3, you'd roll it again. 6. Okay, so the reason why I said don't write it down is this. I am, for everybody in this campaign, through level 5, what? Him move in? Oh, that. Okay. Through level 5,
Yeah.
I'm giving you max hit points.
Which is
So it's 7. For you, it's 7 at every level. So you're starting off with 21 hit points. So write down up where it says hit point maximum, write down 21
okay.
on that line, and then like circle it. Okay. Now when you take damage, you can write down your
Okay, yeah,
current
like,
hit
kinda
points
keep
in
it,
this
yeah,
box, and then
okay.
eventually erase it if it's
Okay.
healed, that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's your hit points. Proficiencies, armor, none.
Where do I write that?
You don't need to.
Okay.
What it means is that sorcerers don't wear armor,
Yes.
which is why your dexterity needed to be pretty good.
Uh-huh.
So, but that also means that you know your armor class now. And your sad armor class is 10 plus your dexterity bonus, which is what?
12. They're
Yes.
plus 2, so 12.
12.
That's sad.
So you have an AC 12. It's not horrible.
But it's not good. Yeah, it's weak.
I mean, if I roll a d20, all I have to do to hit you is roll a 12.
so like
or
I'm
higher.
kind of a squishy.
You're kind of a squishy.
Okay.
But you know what? That's why you learn to play.
That's fine.
How your
'Cause
character
like,
plays. You don't run up to the
I
front
never
of the
play
combat.
like I never play squishies.
Right. You play in the back.
Like any game
Because-
I play with like classes, like I hate squishies.
Right. But now you're the squishy. But
Yes.
remember too that you have other attributes.
Yes.
The party, if well built, will protect you.
Yes.
Right. And you could always run away. Remember that you don't have to fight everything, number one.
Okay.
So you might end up using your awesome charisma to talk your way
Yes.
out of a lot of things.
Yes.
So, and that counts too. Okay, so weapons. You have proficiency in basic little weapons. Now, you mentioned you wanted a staff.
I have a staff.
You have a staff. So a quarterstaff is a weapon that you have proficiency in.
That's dope.
So what you're going to do is under name, write quarterstaff. And we'll come back to the stats on that in just a second. Okay, next is saving throws. So you have proficiency in Constitution and Charisma saving throws. So fill in the circle next to Constitution and Charisma. We'll get to that in just a second.
Okay.
Skills. Choose 2 from Arcana, Deception, Insight, Intimidation, Persuasion, and Religion. Now you already have Survival and Athletics because of your Outlander background. You get to pick 2 more skills.
So right away...
Deception is bluffing your way out of
I was
things.
gonna say...
Persuasion isn't deceiving, but it's kind of persuading
Yes.
people to do stuff.
So it's an insight. It's gonna be deception, insight, or persuasion. It's gonna be 2 out of those 3.
Mm-hmm.
What is insight? Like
Insight is that ability to read people, tell if they're lying to you or what their intent is.
Okay, I'm just
Which, while that's important, maybe someone else in the party would
What
pick
is
that up.
Arcana?
Arcana is a knowledge-based skill. It's an intelligence-based skill, and it's basically the study of the arcane, like the mysterious arts and magical things.
Ooh. Would that be useful?
It could be. Like, if you were a wizard, I'd be
Oh,
like,
okay, yeah,
absolutely,
yes, okay.
you know? But
So I think I'm gonna go-
other people could pick that up.
I'm gonna pick deception for sure.
Okay, so fill in the circle for that.
And then let me see. Persuasion is what I was wanting. Yeah, I'm gonna go with persuasion. Persuasion.
Okay. All right, we'll fill in the numbers for that later. You get to start with some equipment, and I had you write down quarterstaff. You also get a couple daggers. So write down 2 daggers and quarterstaff in your equipment down there. And then up here under quarterstaff, under weapons, we'll write down dagger.
See, I get a crossbow.
No.
Why not? What?
Okay, you could. Do
I
you
don't want the
one?
daggers. I don't want the daggers.
Matthew, we haven't gotten to your spells. Remember that you're a sorcerer.
The crossbow's sick.
You can shoot flame out of your hand. That's better than a crossbow,
But
and
then,
it will
okay,
do
then-
more damage.
So what about the daggers? Why would I need daggers then?
Why not?
Why would I use magic?
Okay, then don't. You'll use magic.
Fine, I want a crossbow over daggers.
Okay, spell casting. So here's where this gets interesting. Flip this sheet over. Now, I do have a second page typically
Okay.
for,
But we're not gonna use
for
it.
magic.
Not necessary.
I have to print it out.
Okay.
So, but for right now, let's just write some notes down. Okay. So at 3rd level, you have 4 cantrips. So write down 4 cantrips. And next line, spells known equals 4. Oh, move the sheet up. Let's move this up. Michael's telling us there. Okay. Write down slots. So 1st level slot equals 4. 2nd level slot equals 2.
So
Slots.
6?
First, so write down 1st equals 4. 2nd equals 2. I'll explain how all that works.
I think I kinda-
Essentially,
There's
you
different
know
level spells.
you know 4 spells.
Yes.
You can cast 4 1st level spells or 2 second
So,
level
yeah, I
and
have 4.
2 second level spells. So you could actually cast 6 total spells each day.
I only know 4.
But you only know 4.
Yeah.
So what it means is that you're recasting
Oh, okay,
some of
that's
the
not
spells.
even a big deal.
It's not a big deal at all. It's very useful. And that's one of the things with them is that they don't know as many spells as a wizard necessarily, but they have slots.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is you get some other additional components. Okay. So, but we're going to write down your spellcasting ability. So your spell save DC, write this down here. Spell save DC equals 8 plus your proficiency plus your charisma bonus. So write down the total. So remember your proficiency bonus is 2. What's your charisma bonus?
3.
3. So 13. So erase that 8 and write down 13. So that means when you cast a sorcerer spell on someone that requires them to make a save,
They get
they have to roll higher than that.
With a d20?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's pretty good. Your spell attack modifier, write this down, spell attack modifier is +5. Do you see now why I'm saying don't bother with a crossbow? Let me explain.
Okay.
When you shoot a firebolt at someone,
Mm-hmm.
that is your charisma plus your proficiency bonus, which is 5. So firebolt to hit, you got a +5. If you were shooting a crossbow, your only bonus would be dexterity plus inspiration. So you get a +4.
So 1 lost.
I'm saying it gets
Yeah,
better
yeah.
and better, right? As you go higher level. So let's talk Sorceress Origin. So you had mentioned when you were reading this that you liked wild magic as your Sorceress Origin.
Yes.
So write down Sorceress Origin, wild magic. Now, underline that because we're going to have a bunch of notes related to it, okay? Wild magic surge.
Like a new... okay.
No,
wild
just
magic.
wild magic is fine.
Okay.
So, tides of chaos.
Okay.
And what that means is you gain advantage on 1 attack roll, comma, ability check, or saving throw.
Got it.
Long rest after. So in other words, once a day, let's say, you can decide,
Okay.
I'm going to manipulate the tides of chaos. I'm going to manipulate the odds of reality. And I'm going to give myself advantage on this attack roll or this saving throw or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's a huge thing. All right, then we have meta magic. So meta magic here has its own block. And that's the ones, remember when we were looking at meta magic is basically where you can fuel different effects.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And then I had those selected.
Right. So which ones in your notes did you like the most?
Double range and twin spell.
Okay. So, I think it's called
Distant spell.
distant spell.
Yeah, look.
Yeah. So, distant spell. It's not called double range. Call it
Oh.
distant spell so that you know how to look it up. Okay. And then what was the other one? Twinned?
Yeah, twin spell.
Twinned spell. Okay. So next to distant spell, just write a note that says 1 sorcery point to double range. Now there is another benefit of this too, and that is if you're not casting a spell that has range.
Oh.
So if it's a touch spell, you can actually make it not a touch spell, which is huge. To 30 feet. All right.
Got it.
Twinned spell. So, cast a spell and targets only use 1 creature and doesn't have a range of self. You could spend a number of sorcery points equal to the spell's level to target a second creature. So 1 sorcery point if cantrip. So if you cast Firebolt, that's
Okay.
a cantrip, let's say. You could spend a sorcery point and attack a creature that's within 5 feet of the other person. Actually, I don't even know if it's within 5 feet. Creature in range with the same spell. So it's anywhere in range. It doesn't even have to be 5 feet. Okay, so there's a little more information on that. All right, let's go back. So font of magic is what you can write up here, font of magic.
Okay, 1 sec. Okay.
So font of magic you have 3 sorcery points. And then under that, right, regain after long rest. So you get 3 points basically a day, okay? Or, you know, within that time. You can use those to fuel these powers.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've used all 3, you have to complete a long rest.
Okay.
And then you get them back. Flexible casting. You can use your sorcery points to gain additional spell slots, or sacrifice spell slots to gain sorcery points. So that's flexible casting. And what that means is, if you have, let's say you're out of your slots for first level, but you need to cast some important first level spell, you can cash in 2 sorcery points to cast a first level spell to get a slot back.
What's that called?
That's part of flexible casting.
Okay.
And that's a bonus action, so it doesn't take your whole thing.
Okay.
Now, here's what else I'm going to do. I'm going to have you write down... Actually, you know what? I won't need you to do this. When we're playing, you're just going to have this book. Okay. Because thanks to the mysterious Mr. M, we have 3 extra players' handbooks, and you're a caster, so you're going to have this. Okay. And then you can quickly refer to your stuff when you need to. Got it. We went over a lot of stuff. Anytime you make a spellcaster, especially when you're a new player, it can feel overwhelming. The last thing that we need to do is pick out your spells. Okay. Now, a lot of people on the webs would be like, I know I'm going to catch heat for this. No matter what I guide you to, they're going to be like, oh, he should have taken this or that. So all I'm going to do is have you take notes on this sheet, on your notes sheet, for some spells that might be good. Okay. Then, after this is posted, a bunch of people are going to post in the comments, and they'll be like, Matt, you should take blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah. You know what I mean? And then if you want to listen to them, you can. Okay. Because you're going to know some spells. So I'm going to write, I'm going to throw you some optional cantrips, okay? Okay. So write down cantrips. Blade Ward.
Wait, so are you just going to, say the cool ones, or what are you doing?
I'm going to say the cool ones, and then other people will, correct me. So...
you're going to have to explain it.
Blade Ward basically gives you resistance against bludgeoning attacks, piercing, and slashing damage.
Resistance to basically melee damage?
Yes. So if you're surrounded and you're just going to get...
Half or full?
No, resistance means you take half damage. Okay. So in other words, if you're just surrounded and there's no way out and you're going to get beat up on, Blade Ward's one of those handy things to have in your repertoire. Firebolt, for sure. That could be your most primary attack every day of your life. Okay. Ray of Frost.
Okay.
Poison Spray.
Okay.
Mage Hand.
What's that?
Light.
What's Mage Hand?
Now, you don't get all these, but I'm just telling you these are some that you're going to look up.
Yeah, I need to know what they are so I can know.
You're going to look them up.
Oh, look them up? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so those are some decent options.
Okay.
Did I say Ray of Frost?
Yes.
Okay. First level.
Is that a new thing?
Yeah, new column. How many first level spells do you know? 4? Yikes, there's so many good ones. Now, again, part of this is, I gave you a lot of attack-based things, except for Mage Hand and Light. Yeah. There are spells that are super useful that don't have anything to do with attacks. Okay. So, Charm Person might be a good one. Sleep is another huge one. You want to knock out a whole bunch of monsters, you cast Sleep, and however many hit dice worth of stuff you roll is how many fall asleep. So that's a huge thing. Witch Bolt. I don't even remember what that is. That might suck. Oh, Mage Armor. Oh my god. There's your life savings. Mage Armor is basically you cast Mage Armor on yourself and it gives you an armor class that's sort of decent instead of the miserable 12 that you have. Featherfall. Fog Cloud. Detect Magic. Magic Missile. Shield. Thunderwave. Disguise Self. Now, that's a crap ton of spells. You won't know that many, but you're going to look up all those spells, and you're going to decide
Okay,
on
and
your
then
own.
second level?
Yeah, then we're on second level. Cloud of Daggers.
Is that the doorway one?
That's like we basically literally make a cloud of flying daggers, and anybody that walks into it or is pushed into it just takes like ouchie damage.
Okay.
Darkness. Dark Vision. Enhance Ability. Gust of Wind. Invisibility. I mean, there's so many good spells. Levitate. Shatter. There are so many good ones. So what you're going to do, and at the top of this, just write down page 209. So that's the list of sorcerer spells. You'll go through this on your own, and you'll pick out 4 cantrips that you know, 4 first level spells that you know, and 2 second level spells. Okay. And when you've narrowed those down and you've picked those out, then you'll be basically ready to go.
Sounds good.
I think that's it. And then all you have to do is think of your character's name. You know, what's this guy's name going to be? Now, we do need to fill in all the numbers, which we can do right now, real quick. So, your proficiency bonus is +2. Oh, erase inspiration. I think you just wrote in the wrong spot.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so we'll go through saving throws.
Okay.
So if you have a circle next to it, that means you have proficiency in it, which means you add your proficiency bonus plus the thing. So Constitution is +1, so that's a +3. What's the other?
Charisma, that's +4.
No.
Yes.
It'd be +5.
Oh.
Because you have a 2 plus a 3. Now, what are the other ones? Wisdom, you just get a +1. So write down +1. Intelligence, 0.
Strength +1. Dexterity +2.
Cool. All right, for these, if you have a circle next to it, you add your proficiency bonus and the thing in parentheses. So this would be +3. Yep. What's the next one?
Deception with charisma, so that's +5. Charisma +5. Wisdom +3.
And that's it.
Yes.
Okay, all the rest of these, you just get whatever the bonus for that thing is. So acrobatics,
Dexterity.
+2. In other words, you don't add in your proficiency bonus.
All right, let's go all the charisma ones. Wisdom is 1. And so...
And the reason why we write down plus is because you actually can have a minus. If you have low enough attribute scores and no proficiency, you can actually have minuses. For example, in a recent game where I made a halfling monk, I had a 4 strength. 4 people. 4 strength. It was brutal. But, you know, he's a halfling monk. What did he need strength for? All right. So you got all those numbers filled in, right?
Yes.
You get to choose... Oh, I'm sorry. You also have your passive perception. Your passive wisdom is 11.
Okay.
So write that in there.
Is that standard of, like, out of an 8? Like, 8's average for that?
No, it's basically 10 plus your wisdom bonus. And if you have the perception, if you have proficiency in perception, you would add that.
Oh.
So
You
that's
should've
not a
told me
0,
that.
it's a +1.
No, you should have told me. Wait, wisdom?
Wisdom is +1. You have a +1 in any of your wisdom things. Intelligence is the one where you have 0. You also need to choose a language. I'm going to tell you to wait on that.
Yeah.
Because you might...
Want to wait till I see who else is in the game.
So you name your character, you research your spells. Here's the other thing I'm going to do. I'm going to keep your character sheet and your notes so that when you have a chance in the coming week preparing for the game, you will be able to look up all this information.
Got it.
Okay? Keep it in the book. All right, that's it for Matt's Character Creation Session 0 for D&D with High School Students Season 3. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Click on that notifications bell so that you get all the updates on when we post videos. And stay tuned for more news about Season 3 because it's coming, people, and it's going to be crazy. All right, thanks for watching that video. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out a lot of the other great content that I have on the channel. It's really awesome. You should check it out. I know what I'm talking about.